Hello, and welcome to another exciting edition of Pompously Political. As always, my name is Scott, and I am joined by.
You are joined by good old Jimmy. Yeah, we're going bare bones this week, ladies and gentlemen, to bring you what you crave, and that is the essentials. And that's what we got today for you, ladies and gentlemen, the essentials. So what do you say, Scat?
I say Merry Christmas and Happy Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and all that other shit that goes on at this time of year. Enjoy it, have fun with it.
You totally beat me to the punch, man.
I did.
Now
I'm on point tonight. They actually let me get sleep today.
uh,
Like, Logan slept next to me and actually slept. I was like, yes!
nice.
Daddy wins.
That should be a hashtag. Hashtag Daddy wins. And it should just be, like parents with newborns that just talk about the little tiny victories in life. And that should
He
be
uh,
one.
he started laughing and cooing and stuff today. When we first
Oh,
went to
nice.
bed, he decided that's when he was going to be like stupidly cute, just adorable. And then after like 30 minutes of that, I was like, all right, it's time for sleep. So put on some Adele. And he loves Adele. Absolutely loves Adele. Anytime that I put it on, he immediately, doesn't matter what he's doing, if he's screaming or whatever, he just like, and he just relaxes. And it's so nice.
Nice. I, I'm, I'm sure Adele would be thrilled to hear that. This is the thing. This is the thing. When she came out with the new song, right, and everybody's been going crazy about it. Some
Yeah.
song about hello or something. Isn't that the name of it?
Yep. That's the name.
Yeah. The only hello song I can think of is like was it Lionel Richie?
There's
Yeah.
actually a meme on YouTube or Vine or whatever, where it's, she does the hello because in the video she's on the cell phone, and then it responds with Lionel Richie's "Is it me you're looking for?" and then she hangs up on him.
Nice. This day and age, when you have so many songs that have the exact same name, come on.
Indeed. So we've been out for 2 weeks, and a lot has happened. Jimmy had some internet issues, um, among other things. Normally it's my internet issues, or has been lately. Now it's Jimmy's. So
Well,
happy to pass that torch on.
yeah. Well, it wasn't even my fault. It was a billing issue. That was the problem. Was normally my stuff is on auto pay, which of course if your stuff is on auto pay, you have no indication that there's a problem with your stuff, right? Because it should be paid for. Well, apparently my auto pay wasn't going through for the past month, right? And the cable company didn't send me anything in the mail or anything to let me know, hey man, we haven't been paid. So naturally, I just assume it's being paid, hence the auto portion of the auto pay. And then they just went ahead and shut my internet off.
See,
Yeah.
I can't use
So
auto pays and
so then
stuff like that.
yeah,
I
just
don't
because
trust it. For that exact reason, I don't trust it. I use an Excel spreadsheet where I track every bill that I have, the day that I paid it, the confirmation number. So if there's any dispute, like, nope, you gave me confirmation that you have this money. So, but I
right.
actually had something
See,
very similar that I just went through as well. Which, did you switch to Verizon? Is that who you're using?
no, for my cable or my internet goes through a company called Cable One.
Okay. Yeah, I switched to Verizon, who is for some reason, closely associated with Verizon Wireless, but they're not the same company. It's two separate, completely separate companies. Somehow, I logged into my internet account, paid my what I thought was my balance. It was $100 more than I was expecting, but I just had it installed, so I was like, all right, whatever. I don't have time to look at this, and just paid it. And then they
Right.
sent me a notice 2 days ago. Hey, we haven't gotten paid yet. Bullshit, you haven't gotten paid yet. I have it coming out of my bank account. Well, come to find out, I used to have Verizon Wireless, but when I had it, I was on my mom's account. And that's how I kept it the whole time I was in the military. And somehow I had gotten logged back into her account and had paid her bill.
Oh wow.
So her and I both had to get on the phone and get the money transferred back into my account. So, yeah, that was fun.
And your mom's like, "Wow, my bill's paid. Merry Christmas."
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
It actually worked out to be very fortunate for her. It helped her out. I won't go into details, but it was actually very fortunate for her. So.
Well, that's a good deal. I mean, you did a good deed without even knowing it, and that's what counts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. And of course, naturally, they tack on reconnection fees and all sorts of late fees, and so I ended up having to pay a pretty hefty chunk of money in order to get my stuff turned back on. And I was just like, are you kidding me? It's right before the holidays, and you're going, oh well, let's not be generous. Let's take as much money as we can for an accident. It wasn't even my fault.
Yeah.
If anything, it was a communication between my bank and the internet company. So why am I held responsible for that? You know what I mean? But hey, whatever.
I was using Bright House down here for years, and anybody who's used Bright House, you know how god awful Bright House's service is, and their customer support is terrible. So I switched over to Verizon when we moved here and got the FiOS, like doubled my internet, plus got a ton of channels and TV and everything for like a quarter less of what I was going to pay to get the same service set up here through Bright House. But when I called them to set this all up, they're like, well, we just want to make sure we're saving you as much money as possible. It's like, I see you've done X, Y, and Z. Let's go ahead and just upgrade you to this. It's $5 more a month, but I think you'll actually pay less per month. I don't know how they did it. They signed me up on a new package that was $5 more a month, and I'm now spending $7 less than what I was paying before.
Wow.
So, no idea, but hey, I'll take it. I'm happy with it.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's crazy, man. So you're getting good internet issues. I'm getting bad internet issues.
And the first time in my life I've had anything positive to say about Verizon. So.
You're paying other people's bills, and that's crazy. I'll just go ahead and let you pay my bill while you're at it. There we go. Although I don't have Verizon, I go through, for my phone I go through AT&T. I've had the same number. I still have a New York number.
Yes, you do.
So that just shows the height of my laziness. Is I could change my phones.
We were together in New York in 2008, 2009.
I got to New York in 2007, but I got to our unit. We got in the same unit in 2008.
Okay, so around 2008, 2009 is when I got your phone number, and I've never updated it.
Right.
Every time I pull up your phone number in my phone book to call you, I have that moment's hesitation of, wonder if this number's still good, even though I know it is. Called you several times on it, but it's always like,
Yeah, it's the same number. I have the same bank account, the same phone number. I just don't. I'm like a creature of habit, Scott. I gotta have the same thing. You know what I mean? And it's like people are like, you should get an Idaho number, man. You live in Idaho. Because I always complain about getting telemarketers soliciting me from New York, and they always call me at weird hours. And they're like, change numbers.
You mentioned bank account. I hit 10 years with USAA last week.
Wow.
Like, I was talking to them on the phone. They're like, well, thank you for 10 years of membership. Like, what? Thank you guys for 10 years? Good Lord, time to move on. No, wow. USAA is great. So enough about us. We've gotten all over our personal. There was another Democratic debate, and I'll be upfront and honest. I didn't watch it. I wasn't even aware it was happening until after it happened. That's how disconnected I've been. Did you get a chance to see that? I know there was a post on the page about it.
Here's the thing. Obviously, because of my internetlessness, I was unable to watch the full thing, but I've since been able to catch some snippets about it, and some of the key moments of the debate. I have yet to watch the full thing, but I do have some assessment on it, obviously, from what I was able to get out of it. Obviously, there was the issue with they came back from break and Hillary Clinton wasn't at the podium, and then she came running in. And they didn't. Of course, the Fox News crowd was saying how unprofessional it was. Donald Trump, of course, was talking about how basically alluding to conspiracies or something going on in the background. Both are ridiculous. They ended up coming out and saying that the reason why she wasn't at her podium was because of she had to use the restroom, and the ladies' restroom is a little bit farther than the male restroom. Not a scandal. It's a non-issue, but apparently some people make it bigger than, you know.
Well,
I
I'm
just
sure
assumed she
it's
would have
people
used the
that,
male restroom.
it's people that have no idea what these things, what actually happens at these things, with the exception of Fox News, who has short-term memory loss and probably
Right.
memory disability of some type because they're Democrats, so whatever. But no, I did catch a couple snips of clips, I'm sorry, of things that were said. And I had liked Martin O'Malley before, but he made the one clip I saw of him. He made a comment about Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton that he kind of generalized them both. And when it comes to Hillary, he was dead on. But when it comes to Bernie, he couldn't be more wrong. And that was he was accusing them of being flipping and flopping on the issues, going back and forth, which Hillary has done. I mean, that's well documented. She does it all the time. Bernie,
Right.
however, has been one of the single most consistent politicians I've ever heard of. I mean, he has a consistent track record of always being on what becomes the right side of the issue, with very little flopping around there. So I don't know if he's just desperate for numbers at this point, because he knows at this point he's not even a talking point, really. I like the guy. I wish him better luck in the next election, but he'd do himself a big favor to just drop out at this point, because he's not doing himself any favors, especially when he comes out with an attack like that. That's a generalization that's not accurate.
Well, what's crazy about it, again, I kind of alluded to it on the Facebook page in reference to Jacob Callahan's question, was that typically what you see during primary election, especially during debates, is they're trying to get their numbers up because the time is dwindling down. I believe we got till March. March is when we wrap up the primaries, if I'm not mistaken. And so because of that, they're trying to get their their 15, 20 minutes of fame, and they're trying to get as many sound bites in there as possible, and that's essentially what Martin O'Malley is trying to do. He's currently polling right now at 2%. He's currently polling at 2%, with Bernie Sanders at 30% and Hillary at 60, is what I'm tracking for the numbers. So he's in single digits. He's been single digits this entire time, and he's not doing himself a favor by staying in at this point. He's nowhere close to getting the nomination. He's not going to get the nomination. He's just spending money at this point. And so, yeah, I foresee him dropping out of the race very soon, which means you're going to have a two-candidate primary for the nomination for the Democrats. Also, we're starting to see people fall off of the Republican side as well. And I bet you by the time we get to March, that field is going to be dwindled down quite a bit.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham stepped out this week.
Lindsey Graham stepped off this week. He's the second candidate, right, or third candidate to drop off, right?
Yes, because we had the two drop off a couple months ago.
Right, we had let's see here.
We had the Democratic.
We had two candidates drop off from the Democratic side.
Yeah, that's what it was.
We had Jim Webb and Lincoln Chafee, but then we also had what's his nuts? Scott Walker dropped off from the Republican side.
Yep. We'll start seeing a lot more Republicans drop off. I agree with that. There's some interesting, I guess, movements going on the Republican side. We'll get to that in a second. Before we jump too far off this Democratic debate, there were. I read an article. Again, I didn't watch it, so I didn't see how accurate this was, but I did read an article about kind of the run-up to the show, that there was going to be this big Sanders versus Clinton showdown. And I guess the joke of the article I was reading was that there was more friction between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, reported like prior to the debate than there actually was in the debate. It was like, oh, Bernie gave her the stink eye when he was coming in. There's going to be some fireworks. Like, they were trying to ramp this up so much that there's just going to be this huge explosion, and Hillary and Bernie are just going to go at it. And it was like, You know, they did a little bit, from what I understand, but
Right.
not too bad. Just that, and we go back to that word, sensationalizing everything. Just
Right.
God, I hate that word. Anyways,
Not everything can be a WWE match news, okay?
and his
We're
name
not,
was.
yeah. Yeah. I'm expecting, Bernie Sanders to do the little ear thing, that Punk used to do. But yeah, man, what I got out of it, there's a little bit of back and forth between Bernie Sanders and Hillary, but there was also a portion where I don't know if you recall in the news or if you were able to get this out of the news. There was an information leak that came from the Bernie Sanders campaign. They want some personal information got leaked out. Is what happened.
Wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it was about I think campaign donors and so forth. Something it affected the Hillary camp as well, and yeah, it was pretty bad.
I did see him
But
apologize to her for that. I just had no idea what he was
yes,
talking about.
so yeah, he did apologize to her in the debates, which is indicative of somebody that respects the other candidate. There was no ad hominem attacks. It was respectful. It was civil, and they stuck to the issues. There wasn't.
You literally just read my mind. Because before I turn that over to you, what I was thinking was what I've seen out of the debate was just respect between each candidate. They always acknowledged, well, we agree on this issue, or we don't agree on this issue. But it was never, well, Hillary is a bleepity bleep bleep. There was no Trumpisms going on the Democratic side, where in the Republican debates, the Republican primary has boiled down to ad hominem attacks. There's no policy being discussed. There's no actual problem solving happening. It's so-and-so is a lowlife, or he has no energy. But we'll get to that in a second. I have to give Hillary props for, and I'm shaking my camera. Yeah, I have to give Hillary props for her sign-off from the debate.
Oh, the Star Wars bit, of course.
May the
Yeah,
Force be
May the
with you.
Force. Yeah.
That was excellent.
Speaking of the ad hominem attacks, did you see the SNL bit? I know this is kind of derailing the issue, but it speaks volumes. They did an SNL thing that had what's his face play Donald Trump, and the other guy played Jeb Bush, and then Donald Trump was like talking to Jeb Bush in the debate, and he's like, I happen to know for a fact that you pee standing down. Yes, you do, Jeb. You do. And Jeb's like, that's not true. And he's like, it is true. Yes, you do. And that's like they're arguing back and forth. That's pretty much it's pretty much what's taking place in the debate. And you have to look at it like this. You may not agree with the policies that are being put forth in the Democratic debate, whether you are of a conservative or a Republican type ideology or party orientation, but you can at least acknowledge the fact that they're actually sticking to policy rather than attacking to each other. But then you look at the contrast of that, which is the Republican debate, and it's all flash and no substance.
It is, and what's I guess interesting to notice, Jeb Bush made the comment last week, you cannot bully your way to the presidency. And Hillary has since echoed that comment almost word for word. You can't just bully everybody and expect to be president. There was a poll that CNN was talking about today when I was watching, talking about 50% of Americans say they would be embarrassed to have Trump as the president.
Right.
I mean, just think about that you would look at your president and just be, you may not agree with Obama. You may not have liked Bush. You may not have liked Clinton. But, well, let me take Bush out of that. You may not have agreed with Obama and Clinton, but you weren't embarrassed that they were out representing you to the world. Bush, you kind of were. But Trump takes that to a whole new level. And specifically with the ad hominem attacks, Trump and Clinton have gotten into it since the debate. You had mentioned Trump making the comments about her off in the bathroom break and just how unacceptable that was. But in his comments, he didn't actually say she had gone to the bathroom. He tried to allude to it being something so much more terrible than that. And I think the words it's disgusting. I don't want to talk about it. It's just disgusting. Like, it's a bathroom trip. Like,
Right.
There's a great book you should read. It's called Everybody Poops.
Oh, beautiful.
And since then, Clinton had made comments during the debate, which I guess we should get into, about how ISIS is using Trump as propaganda to recruit
new members
into ISIS, which Trump has since come back and said, well, there's statistically no validation on that. There's no evidence to back it whatsoever. Maybe not overtly. Maybe there's not any direct evidence. But let's expand that a little bit, because he is channeling the narrative that ISIS wants him to channel. That the Muslims are the enemies. The Muslims are the problem. We need to get rid of the Muslims. That is verbatim what ISIS wants. That's what they want to hear. So while he may not be actively featured in a ISIS propaganda video yet being the key word, I will bet money that it will happen. So yet, he is feeding into the rhetoric that they want him to feed into, and he is attributing to increases in new members or whatever, and recruiting of this. So I support Clinton's campaign because Trump demanded an apology from Clinton, which we can go over the irony to that in a second.
Right.
And Clinton's camp told him word for word, and I quote, "Hell no."
Let me kind of expand upon that a little bit of what exactly you're saying, because you and I both come from a military background where you certainly were in intelligence, and you were able to kind of see a little bit behind the curtain, if you will, about the insurgency that was certainly going on in Iraq. The thing about it is that you're exactly correct. The ISIS, their whole goal is to create an us versus them mentality. When you separate us versus them, then the disenfranchised that we have in our country, aka the Muslims that exist in our country, the peaceful Muslims that exist in our country, they have nowhere to turn to, because we don't have their back. Okay? Because if we're fueling into this rhetoric of us versus them, we're, like Trump is doing, we're essentially turning them into that they are the enemy. Muslims are the enemy. And so therefore, who are they going to turn to? But the group that says, yeah, come over here, we support you, come over with us, And that's the problem with rhetoric like that, is you may not be directly attributed to, as in Donald Trump is the reason why ISIS exists, but the rhetoric you were putting out there certainly is. So if anybody owes an apology, it's Trump for the Muslim community.
And for Trump to come out with all of the comments that he's made recently, all of the what's the word that my brain's not working right now? The word
xenophobia.
That the separation that he's causing. We were gonna do an episode on it. God, why can I not think of this word?
Separation.
Polarization.
Polarization.
All the polarizing comments that he's making, and we have a guest appearance.
Oh!
We have a happy baby that's not screaming. And stuff.
Holy cow!
Uh-oh, he's about to scream.
He's got the look. He's like, am I on camera?
So this is Logan Bradley for all of you out there watching. He is 4 weeks old tomorrow, and he is happy as can be right now. Let's keep him that way for as long as possible.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Trump's polarizing comments, what he has said about Mexicans being rapists and drug dealers, what he has said about Muslims being the enemy, what he has said about all these other nationalities, and has adamantly refused to ever apologize for anything that comes out of his mouth, now demands an apology from somebody else for saying something against him. How childish is this? Like, how childish is he to do that? Oh, he's going cross-eyed.
he's like, oh goodness, gravy. He's got the look I have on my face when I drink too much. That's that's what I look like.
There's a whole section on Facebook dedicated to a post. I'm sure you've seen it. How babies are just really small drunk people.
Yeah. He's just got that look of beleaguerment. Like, how did I get here? Who ordered shots? Oh, that's funny.
All right,
Aww.
he's adorable. It's my pride and joy right there.
That right there is worthy of a derailment of podcast right there. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Scott and Melissa make a hell of a cute child. Yeah. If you
I'm
would
sure
like
she
to,
thanks you for that.
if you would like to submit for surrogacy from the Deming household,
No. We are not surrogating any children for anybody.
oh goodness, this is gravy.
Anyways, Trump versus Clinton and his comments. Trump versus Bush, going after Bush, and Bush being the lone Republican to really lock his heels in and fire back at Bush. Fire back at Trump. I will give Jeb Bush props on that. Still, no chance in hell he gets the nomination, but kudos to him for trying. Speaking of nomination, fucking Ted Cruz.
Right.
How is that moron in second place?
The same reason why the other moron we were talking about in the first place. What you have right now, and you typically get these, again, in primary elections, is you get the fringe. You get the fringe, they're the ones that are paying attention right now. And as slowly as the primaries begin, or the primaries come to an end and the general election starts to come, you start to get more of the moderates. The problem with that is we're seeing an extension of the fringe here that's really unprecedented, or at least to my knowledge. We haven't seen these crazies out like this for this long. I mean, we've both said that we thought Trump was going to fizzle off by now, and he's not fizzled off.
I think we were expecting him to fizzle off around October, November-ish, and he's still going strong.
Right. What to attribute to that, other than the fact that the fringe is paying a little bit more attention, a little bit longer? That's the only thing I can think of, which is really scary, because if they continue this path, again, primary elections take place, who's going to get that nomination?
It is, and Ted Cruz really scares me because he's a special brand of crazy. He's what I would classify as serial killer crazy. Because the serial killers, you would envision them as being like the Joker, just like, I'm just gonna kill everybody, but they're typically not. They're very calm. They're very relaxed. They're very even spoken. Sadly, and I hate to admit this, but they actually make a little bit of sense when they talk. If you listen to what they're saying at the core of it, before they ramble into why I'm killing everybody, a lot of them actually made sense. That's where Ted Cruz is. When he talks to that type of voter, he makes sense. He's very calm. He's very articulated. He's very even-keeled throughout his whole speech. He sounds very passionate, very convincing. Serial killer / cult leader is where I would classify him. But when you listen to what he's actually saying, what he actually proposes, some of the ideas that he's thrown out about where religion specifically fits into the scheme of government, how he would increase religion's role in government, kind of taking away from separation of church and state, how he is essentially wanting to erode the core values that make America America. That's scary as fuck if he gets into office.
Considering he's involved in constitutional law, that's where his background is.
And now his Harvard teacher, who I guess the guy taught for 30 or 40 years at Harvard, is now coming out to say that Ted Cruz was one of the most brilliant students he ever had while he was at Harvard. Did you hear about that?
I kind of got some gist of it, and then the moment they said Ted Cruz and brilliant in the same sentence, that was the moment I was like, I'm discounting you.
How much were you paid to make that comment?
Right. You're at Harvard, for crying out loud. Come on, man. Like, you were, like, Ivy League, man. You're Ivy League, and you're sounding like a community college type person here. I'm now bashing community. I'm sorry, community college people. I'm sorry. All right.
But he is
Crazy.
he's in second place behind Trump's first place, and you've got, you're right, you're talking about the fringe voters are what's paying attention now. But once we start getting to the base, to the moderate majority of Americans that don't really care Republican or Democrat, they care about the issues. I guess there is some attention starting to shift away from them, because I guess what I'm trying to get at is the analysts that I have seen and have listened to up to this point have basically and essentially dismissed Trump and Cruz entirely. Absolutely no way either one of them gets the nomination, even with the numbers being great right now. No way either one gets the nomination, which means we have to look at the number 3 and the number 4. This is the only way that Jeb Bush has even the slightest bit of a chance, and even in this sense, he's still a long shot. But the number 3 person right now, Marco Rubio.
Right. The thing about it is, again, and you're kind of alluding to it. Certainly, I'm certain these analysts have kind of referenced it a little bit. The Republican Party does not have to nominate based off of the primaries. They can nominate based off of who the hell they want to nominate. That's a possibility. So it could be that, okay, these people get the popular vote, but the party itself does not see them in their best interest and doesn't nominate them. And that's what took place in I believe it was the 1964 Democratic Convention. A similar thing took place, which caused chaos, which eventually, I believe, led the way to a Nixon in the White House. So turmoil is coming towards the Republican Party, certainly. I don't see Ted Cruz getting a nomination. I don't see Donald Trump getting a nomination. I don't even see Ben Carson getting a nomination at this point.
Ben Carson has fallen off. He has almost completely disappeared.
Right. Which is good, because I was starting to be a little worried of him saying that he almost stabbed somebody and going, "No, you're not, you liar." And then, of course, that hurting his campaign. Like, they really wanted him to actually have tried to stab somebody. Like, that
Carson had bumped up to mid-20s, low 30s. I think he was high 20s, actually. He's now down to 10%. So.
Right. So.
But the other thing with all this, the reason Cruz and Trump are not going to get the nomination is because that almost certainly guarantees that a Democrat will be the next president. Whether it's Bernie or Hillary, it guarantees they're going to win, because nobody in their right mind is going to vote for Trump. And once you start listening to Cruz, nobody in their right mind is going to vote for him. Right. Crazier things have happened, I know. Which I guess is scary for me as a Democrat, as a liberal, when you're looking at somebody like Marco Rubio, who is likable, who is, he has his own way of doing things. He's very young. He could easily be a counter and follow-up to Obama, from the conservative standpoint, that you can still be, you don't have to be young and progressive, you can be young and conservative in that mindset. So looking at Rubio for the nomination, does that concern you at all, that he might actually get the ticket and it would actually be a legitimate, who's going to fucking win at this point?
Here's the thing. Yeah, certainly I think that Rubio is one of the greater threats for the as far as the Republicans retaking the White House, just simply because of the same things you vocalized. He is young. He's Cuban. His family's from Cuba, so that leads to potential them gaining a substantial following from the Hispanic vote. He has that possibility. The thing that I think discounts him is, first of all, look at the sort of policy that he supports. When it comes to immigration, he's very much white bread, in line with the Republican establishment, which is anti-amnesty, anti-Dream Act. He's along those lines, which is hurting Hispanic communities by far. He's also against the renewed relations with Cuba. He's against that. So that's obviously a fairly popular thing that's going on right now. There's a lot of things that he has against him. So I could see him getting a nomination, but I don't see him ultimately being successful with that nomination. I think the biggest threat, and I'm still going to throw this out here, the two candidates I see the biggest threat from is, of course, Jeb Bush. I still don't discount him yet, and then Rand Paul. Rand Paul's a sleeper. He's not that young, but he's still fairly young. He can get a lot of the independent vote. Getting off the coattails of his father, he has that ability. Whether he's going to be able to do that from now until the end of the primaries, I don't know. But I could foresee either him or Jeb Bush getting the nomination over Rubio. I could see Rubio as a potential vice president, just simply in order to get that Hispanic vote.
Yeah, I guess because like you said, there's no way Trump and Cruz are getting the Hispanic vote.
Well, especially he's Trump in particular has disenfranchised so many voting demographics. I mean, at least 2% of the population of the United States is Muslim. Okay, so that's 2% you're losing right there. You've offended all of the Hispanic vote. You're not getting the Hispanic vote. He's made comments. You have people in the Black Lives Matter movement getting the shit beat out of them at your rallies. Your majority of your crowds are white people. You're not getting the black vote. I don't care if you say you're going to win 100% of them. You're not getting the black vote. Who do you have left as far as the minority voting bloc? Women aren't voting for you. Who's voting for you, Donald Trump? Angry white people. And you're not going to win that way. It used to be able to get the southern white vote, and then you were golden. You're going to the White House. It's not the case anymore.
No,
and so,
thank God.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Where we go from here is really going to determine the nature of the rest of our show, because I have 6 or 7 topics we can go over, including the one that you had put up, that all of them can easily take up the rest of the show. I know which way I want to go with it. Which way do you want to go with it?
I would like to go over the numbers that I put in there, just simply because it's pretty interesting and pretty telling about the demographics of the nation as far as the gun control debate. However, mine
can tie into that if you want to go that route.
We could do that. We could do a double downer. Can we at least hint at Martin Shkreli, because I'm just so head over heels.
Bro.
Yeah.
Farmer bro going to jail. Motherfucker. Yes. And let's raise his bail by 5,000%, as the picture says. Fuck that guy. I hope he gets ass raped every fucking night.
This
Drop
guy.
The soap, motherfucker. Drop the soap. And to make it better, I hope the guy that's doing it has AIDS, so that you have to pay for your own HIV medicine now.
Oh my God, that would be ironic, wouldn't it? The very medicine that would save his life is the very medicine that he pretty much screwed everybody else over. Okay, so for the uninitiated, Martin Shkreli was the Turing Pharmaceuticals CEO who bought a life-saving AIDS medication and then jacked the price up 5,000%.
From
to the point
$3-ish a pill to $750 a pill.
Right. Which obviously disproportionately affects those in the lower income brackets in the world, because this is not just AIDS is not an epidemic in just the United States, it's worldwide, and worldwide people are using this medication. So you're affecting so many nations, you're giving so many people the middle finger, and he did it with a smile on his face, like, hey, whatever, I gotta make a profit, bro. Which is terrible thing. Then he also pissed off other people because he bought that Wu-Tang album. He bought that Wu-Tang album, which was like a couple $1 million.
There's only one ever made.
Right, only one Wu-Tang album made, and apparently he's a huge Wu-Tang fan, or just likes cock-blocking everybody. So he bought this Wu-Tang album for like a couple $1 million, which, okay, you're jacking up the price of your medication because you say that your company's in trouble financially and that it's making no money on this, yet you're willing to put forth millions of dollars for a Wu-Tang Clan album. I'm not knocking Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang ain't nothing to fuck with. I'm down with that. But at the same time, $1 million for something that's that frivolous. Come on, get over yourself. So yeah, he's going to jail for fraud, right? He's charged with fraud. Wonder
Right. It dates back to his days with MSMB Capital Management, where he's CEO and co-founder. Now, all of these companies he's involved in, he's actually either founder or co-founder and CEO of these. He has stepped away from MSMB, but he has a streak of this shit. He founded his first hedge fund in 2006 called Elliott Capital Management. In 2007, Lehman Brothers won a $2.3 million lawsuit against them. So it was a default judgment, because I guess they weren't paying them or whatever. But that's just one in a series of events that this guy may be successful, but he's a dumbass. And he is not doing it the right way because he just keeps getting caught. You know, he needs to take some lessons from not the Wolf on Wall Street, the other big baddie on Wall Street, the movie Wall Street, that guy.
Yeah.
He needs to take some lessons on him, because he was a lot better at not getting. He got caught, but he was a lot better at not getting caught repeatedly. Anyway,
what the thing about it is I'd be curious to see how, like, does this guy? He obviously has to have, like, rich parents. Do you think his parents are splitting the bill?
No, they're not rich.
Mistakes?
His parents
Really?
are. If you go to the wiki, he was born in '83. His parents are Albanian and Croatian immigrants who worked as janitors, living in Brooklyn.
Okay, so how the hell did this guy? Did he just, like, get lucky? Like, how the hell does this guy? I don't think he is financially savvy. I don't think he knows how to run a business. So how? That's the question. Is how did this guy? And obviously, the question lies in the fact of him frauding, creating fraudulent. I can't even talk because I'm so confused with this guy. You totally threw a curveball with the fact that he didn't even come from money. My assumption is that he came from money. He's just some idiot, like, kid with a silver spoon in his mouth that just keeps making one mistake after another.
He's like the Wolf of Wall Street. He's like that guy where he came from nothing. He got his Series 6 license. He started doing hedge funds, investment funds, and things like that. And he made money off of stocks. And he was somewhat successful when he was working for I don't remember what the name of the big company was that he was working with. But he was an analyst for a company. He was somewhat successful for that. Successful enough that he was able to go off and start his own business and make a couple million on that. So.
Okay, so that explains it. It's just baffling that this guy is apparently good enough to get to that level. Why the hell aren't we millionaires, Scott? We're much better people than this guy. So we should get on that. We should totally.
I'm actually going to be getting my Series 6 by the end of the year, so.
Ooh, man.
I'm working on it. Anyways.
Am I going to be your Jonah Hill? Am I going to have some ridiculous teeth and some glasses to make me look waspy?
I don't know. How much cocaine do you have on you right now?
How much cocaine do you want me to have, Scott? That's the question.
But yeah, enough about that guy. That guy's
okay.
Not even worth the time. Let's go over your numbers, because that ties into the story that I want to get into.
Okay. So I kind of talked to you about this offline, but essentially ABC News and Washington Post put together a poll, a nationwide poll that asked, which of these do you think is a better way to respond to terrorism in this country, by enacting stricter gun laws or by encouraging more people to carry guns legally? So obviously, if you look at the numbers, you can see a clear partisan divide. You have 21% of Republicans saying that stricter gun laws is the answer, with 70% of Republicans saying that more people should be carrying guns legally. You have the independents with 34% saying going for stricter gun laws, and 52% of them saying more people carrying guns legally. Then you have 67% of Democrats saying stricter gun laws, and 25% of Republicans, 25% of them saying more people carrying guns legally. So you could clearly say a partisan divide. Overall, you have 42% going for stricter gun laws and 47% for more people carrying guns legally. So it's, if you look at it as overall, the country is split pretty evenly. But the majority of those that are for the stricter gun laws are of the Democratic base. So
and that makes sense. I mean, that's not really anything surprising. You would expect, based off those numbers, that both you and I would be for stricter gun laws.
Right.
And we're not. Are
Right.
you? I'm not.
No.
Are you?
Here's my thing. Are you? Come on. What do you think? Hey man. Here's my thought, and we've kind of alluded to this a little bit. I love guns, man. Guns are sweet. Guns are cool. For whatever reason, you hold a gun in your hand, you automatically feel more badass. The problem that I think we have is number one, a majority of the people that are committing these crimes have some sort of mental illness. We have a huge epidemic of mental illness in this country. Why isn't that being addressed? Why is it gun control that's being addressed and not mental illness? We're trying to fix the healthcare system, but we're nowhere close to fixing it to solve this problem, this epidemic. So I think if you want to alleviate some of the problems that we're having with gun violence and mass shootings in particular, you need to look at the issue of mental health in this country. The second thing you need to look at is what existing laws do we have, and how are we holding people accountable? That's what needs to be looked at. It's not necessarily how can we take these guns away, which let's face the facts. If you have an AR-15, you're using that for fun. You're using it for recreation. You're not using that for home defense. You bought it because it looks cool. All right, that's the bottom line. You could say, "Oh, I got it for self-defense." I don't see why you want to use AR-15 for hunting. So then the only people that are saying is like self-defense. And open to carry nuts. I think open to carry is a bad idea. That's one thing I'm against. So I think while some of these guns are unnecessary, I think it's your right to own them. That's fine. The problem with it is we need to address it in such a way that we look at all the encompassing issues. Now, with that being said, there needs to be concessions made on both sides. We need to look at it pragmatically. You have this public outcry that's taking place. Are you willing to allow certain regulations on guns to a certain extent in order to alleviate or appease the stricter gun lobby people? You see what I mean? Because eventually, the outcry is going to get to the point. We had 355 shootings this year, mass shootings.
No, that number is off. That's a bad number.
That was the number. That's the number the last thing that I saw.
There was a review on that based on where they were getting the numbers from.
Right.
One of those shootings was like a 8-year-old with a BB gun shot 4 of his friends, like completely accident. That was classified as a mass shooting based on the definitions used to get
so
there.
They're inflated.
Realistically, there's only been, I think it was like 12 or 15, maybe 17 this year.
Okay. But that number is still pretty substantial, and it's the perception. What I'm arguing, it's the perception of how we as a public view the situation rather than the facts themselves. And when you have right now, you have people that believe that we're having a ridiculous amount of school shootings, mass shootings, and so forth, to the point where what does politics do? Sometimes it follows the whim of public opinion, public outcry. You could get worse and stricter gun laws if you don't work with the people that are calling for it. I think concessions need to be made. Whether I think that those will solve the issue, that's a different thing. Obviously, I don't. I think that there's other things that need to be addressed.
I'm so conflicted on this issue. I can understand, for the most part, both arguments. I have a major issue with the stricter gun law crowd because it's like what you can't get through to these people that are just more laws. We need more laws. What you can't get through to them is that we are talking about a demographic of the population that doesn't give a fuck about your laws. All right, look at the shootings in California. They have, I think aren't they the most strict gun laws in the country? And still, the San Bernardino shooting happened. We are talking about criminals and thugs and people that are going to do what the fuck they want. They don't give a damn about it. You have to understand that these people view jail as a fucking trophy. If you get to go, the harder the jail that you get to go to and spend a couple years, the more of a badass you are when you come out. So telling these people that you need more laws so that you can keep those people from getting guns is absolutely ignorant of the facts of the situation. Now, when you bring up a classic counter argument is to bring up successful examples in Australia, or I think Britain was another one. What Australia did, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that they upped the fee for having an illegal gun. Or they banned all guns and you couldn't have guns if you found one. $30,000, essentially. That if you got caught, you had to pay $30,000. Let's look at applying that to America. Let's look at applying that to the demographic that's going to hurt the most. The lowlives and thugs or whatever, that you're going to go and a cop is going to find a gun on them. They now owe $30,000. Do you think they're going to pay it? Not a chance in hell. They've never seen $30,000 in their life. Much less are they going to be able to come up with $30,000 to pay your damn fine. And if you look at John Oliver's skit breaking down the fine system, when you have to go into a payment plan on your fines, even for parking tickets, they're going to end up paying probably $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 on that. Do you think they're going to pay that? Not a chance in hell. So what's going to happen? What happens when they don't pay their fine? What do? We send them to jail because we don't have enough people in jail already. And I've already said jail is a badge of honor for these people. More gun laws are not going to solve anything. Now, do we need more crazy motherfuckers on the streets just walking around with guns? No. But we do need sane people who have the mental capacity to defend themselves, to arm and defend themselves, need to be more readily able to do that and not have to feel bad for doing that. Not have to feel bad for defending themselves, standing their ground, as you would call it in Florida.
Here's the thing.
I cannot wrap my head around this argument.
Here's where we differ. Okay. When it comes to an issue of the good guy with the gun is the only way to stop a bad guy with the gun, which essentially it's essentially where the root of your argument is in that particular case, where somebody should be able that is capable and responsible with their weapons should be able to defend themselves against somebody that is not. Okay, I'm all fine with that, but the problem is that we as a collective society lack the judgment for that to take place. You may think you're responsible for that weapon, but that doesn't mean you are. That doesn't mean you are by any stretch of the imagination that you are capable of making a decision that could end with somebody losing their life. Look at the instances that we're having with the police right now, where you're having several instances of people being you could use police brutality, you could use excessive force, whatever. The fact of the matter is these are the people that we have charged with the responsibility of carrying a gun day in and day out, and even they are having problems. What we need, okay, is we need to figure out a way, and of course, I don't have the answers for it, but we need to figure out a way to hold the people that are committing these crimes accountable, and we need to address the mental health issue. I think that those two things are essential in this. And then with when it comes to the open to carry thing, it's preposterous. It just makes people nervous when they see you carrying a gun on you because they don't know if you're a good guy with a gun. They just see you as a guy with a gun.
You're forgetting one key aspect of this: deterrence. Okay. Right. I just installed a security system in my house, and these security companies do statistics and polls and all kinds of analysis to find out how effective their security system is. Simply placing a brand new security system sign in the front of my yard on a newly bought house, because basically what happens is when you buy a house, it goes into public registry. People looking to rob houses search public registries for new houses, assume that there's no security system there. Simply putting the sign in the front yard
take a wild guess at the percentage that percentage decrease in basically home invasions. I'm trying to say how much more of a percent it protects your home.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of go wide with this, but my brother used to sell ADT alarm systems, and it was between 20 and 40% that it drops.
300.
300%.
300% less likely for someone to pick your house to invade versus your neighbor's house if you both moved in at the same time. You have the sign, he doesn't. 300%. So there is a serious deterrence factor that we are not factoring into this gun debate.
Okay, but
that's a whole different story, because that goes into the good guy with the gun. Another thing that you mentioned was fuck, I don't remember what it was, but it ties into the story, and that's how I'm going to segue into this. Las Vegas.
Can I make one last thing on this? I know you're eager in this, but it's on my brain. You're looking at risk versus reward. Okay. The problem with that is that is a small demographic of the larger issue. The majority, like Sandy Hook, let's say Aurora, you have all these. If you look at the common thread amongst these, it's mental illness. You see what I'm saying?
That's an entirely different debate that can be added into this. I'm not debating.
But the thing is,
deterrence right now.
Deterrence isn't going to affect that. Deterrence is going to. It's going to affect whether your house gets robbed, or it's going to affect whether you.
It isn't going to affect mental illness, no. But when we're talking about mental illness, we're talking about specific instances, and I'm going to argue that they are the vast minority of these instances. Most of these mass shootings that are occurring are not necessarily from mentally ill people. They're from, again, the gangbangers and the lowlives who don't give a damn about the law.
You know, Mexicans. I'm just kidding. That's terrible.
Anyways, so to tie into that, and how we are discussing this issue. Was it last night or was it 2 nights ago? I think it was yesterday. A woman, not sober, not mentally ill in any sense, went down the Las Vegas Strip just running groups of people over. Intentionally running people over. Ended up hitting 37 people in the Strip, killing one of them, all the while having her 3-year-old daughter in the back. Absolutely awful. An atrocious scenario that it's hard to wrap your mind around that somebody would do this, not under the influence of any type of medication or drug or alcohol, but would consciously and knowingly just mow people down.
Okay, my question is, what's the motive behind this?
That's where we're going. That is exactly what I'm tying into this.
Okay.
Because the very first thing that everybody started saying was this was terrorism. Because we are so ingrained at this point, our knee-jerk reaction is terrorism, terrorism, terrorism. There is zero indication that this is terrorism. What the indication is, at least initially, is that she was pissed off at her boyfriend or husband or whatever it was and decided to, I don't know, punish him somehow. Did this. I don't know if that's the actual motive, but that's what the initial discussions were once we got past terrorism. But now that we're past terrorism, any news channel that you watch on this, because I've watched CNN and Fox, I think I saw a little bit of, I want to say NBC, as well as I was scrolling through. You're actually having a legitimate discussion about this. Who the woman is, why did she do this, what's the outcome of this? Whereas if this were a gun-related incident, we wouldn't even be talking about the shooter anymore. We would be right back into this debate of do we do stricter gun laws or do we give more people guns?
Right.
Which is exactly the problem. We are no longer blaming the person for the crime. We are blaming society. Or why is nobody blaming the car that she was driving for this? Because it's the exact same type of argument that we're doing for all of these other instances.
Now let me offer a counterpoint. Although what you're essentially saying is supporting what I'm saying, in that the larger discussion is being put towards the conversation of gun control, and we're not talking about other things like mental health and so forth that could alleviate a lot of the issue. However,
I agree with that.
let's look at this in a different way. What if this situation with this lady in the car was taking place multiple times within the year?
Would we then ban cars?
Would we then look at safety measures in order to make sure that something like that doesn't happen? You see what I'm saying? Not necessarily banning cars, but that discussion would be obviously being had. Obviously, when it comes to the necessity of a gun versus a car, we tend to need a car a little bit more than we need a gun. Just you can't drive around in a gun, so you kind of need transportation.
I don't know. Have you seen a James Bond movie?
A gun car. Da-da-da-da. That'd be beautiful. How would you drive that? Driving half cocked. But anyways, so what I'm saying is if this was happening at a more frequent rate, as opposed to one person driving around and being a crazy person, which I think that mental illness has to be associated with this in some way. No normal, sane person would just start running people over, no matter how pissed off you are at your boyfriend. Okay, that's just not how it works. It would be like the equivalent of me seeing my favorite sports team lose, and then me going out and punching 5 people in the face because of how angry I am that my team lost. It's just not rational behavior.
Or setting vehicles on fire and rampaging businesses.
Ooh, touche, sir, touche. But the thing about it is it's not right. That's not rational behavior. There has to be something there, something that is affecting this situation somehow. With that being said, again, if this was a situation that wasn't just isolated and it was occurring on a more frequent rate, I mean, look at our response of driving drunk. We're both around the same age. You remember all the anti-drunk driving commercials that were everywhere? The seatbelt campaign.
Oh my God! Even being in the military, somebody. Right. 4 brigades over that you've never met in your life, you probably never even seen this motherfucker. Right. He went and drove drunk, and it's your fault. Like yes. Every weekend at Fort Drum, that was the speech.
Exactly, and that's the thing. That's what I'm saying is that what you're seeing in this conversation that's being had could easily be applied if it was not an isolated incident. With that being said, again, I'm not supporting gun control. I'm not supporting. I mean, you can have whatever gun you want, just as long as I have a way to determine that you are, in fact, a person of sound mind and responsibility for that weapon.
But back to my other point. Everybody poops. Everybody has that moment where maybe you're sane 99% of the time, but there's going to come a day where you're going to lose your shit. And
should you have a gun? That's the thing. If I go crazy, Scott, I want people to take my guns away. I want them to take them away because the sane me doesn't want anybody hurt.
Right.
And that's the thing, is there's got to be some sort of way, to hold these people accountable. That, like, maybe it's a test every year. I've been saying this for years. What if there's a test every year to determine if you're crazy and you shouldn't have a gun? You know what I mean? Like, if we had that ability, like, I show up and I'm like all cross-eyed talking about how the fucking devil made me do it.
Yeah, but that's never going to happen. That test is never going to accomplish anything. It's never going to find anything. This is a very
not with that attitude.
This is a very in-depth topic that really warrants its own. We should do its own video on this, just to go into all the intricacies of it. But we are absolutely, completely, and totally out of time. So we really don't even have time to do much of a wrap-up. We're so far over at this point. That being said, wonderful discussions. That was probably one of the more lively episodes we've had. Star Wars came out this week, broke literally every box office record there is to break. It's absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see it. I've not seen it. We saw Hunger Games instead. So
bad, Scott. Hunger Games, really?
I almost cried, dude. I'm not gonna ruin it for anybody, but at the end, like, my wife cried. She broke down. I almost cried because of how it ends. Like, it's probably more because I'm a new dad that and that the hormones are going, and what happened really got to me. But yeah, that was a tearjerker for me. So.
Star Wars, man. This is the thing. I told everybody on Facebook, okay, don't spoil it for anybody. If you do, you're getting unfriended, because that's a dick move. Because it's a great movie and it deserves to be unspoiled. So go see it, Scott. I highly, highly recommend it.
Going to as a babysitter. So,
Right.
all right.
No, take Logan with you. Take Logan with you.
He's got to watch the first 6 first.
Okay. All right.
Well, as always, it's been fun. Check us out on polypompous.com. Shoot us over a tweet at polypompous. Now that I have the password and I can log in again.
Woohoo.
Pompously Political on Facebook. We are doing this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m., whatever time Jimmy is in.
Mountain time. Yeah.
5 p.m. Pacific then. All right.
I want the mountain time, people.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that good shit.
Have yourself a merry December week.
Take care. Keep thinking.